Donald Trump and the Republican politicians, they take their cues from those influencers, from the media. It's not the other way around. It's not that President-elect Trump calls up, for example, Charlie Kirk at Turning Point and says, okay, I want you to say this and this and this at your events. That's not what happens. It's that Trump is getting his talking points from the Charlie Kirks and the Alex Joneses and the Tucker Carlsons.
Didn't they say Trump used to actually just watch Fox News for like hours on end? So what we're going to do today is go over a video from Midas Touch. We're going back to the same old well, and that well is us going to be talking about MAGA regret and how MAGA regret is something where it's just universal and people are starting to wake up. Oh my goodness, they're starting to get woke. So let's go to this Midas Touch video and see how an ex-MAGA has a message for Trump. He lied? What? No. Let's go.
PBD, here's the kicker. Where do these people get their information? Lower propensity voters get information on TikTok. Mm-hmm. They're not watching CNN. They're not sitting, you know why? These folks are darn tired by the time they get home. They're not turning on cable news. They're watching NFL football games. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that are not going to be able to quote to you, Marbury. They're not, by the way.
It's also this.
Yeah, it's also the phone. So what Donald Trump campaign did is they hacked the 2024 election, not in a way that people would think, where they said, wait a second, everyone has a supercomputer in the right-hand pocket. Why are we worried about what CNN is saying or MSNBC is saying? Why don't we win the information war? And then finally, the kicker, they said, why don't we go on the most ambitious, over-the-top, low-propensity voter communication strategy on Theo Von, Joe Rogan, Nelk Boys, Logan Paul, influencers.
So they're admitting that they lied to you. They are admitting that they were dishonest. They are admitting that, hey, look, we're just going to give you we're going to give you this information to the stupidest people. And I'm not calling them stupid. I'm not calling you stupid if you're a Trump voter. They think that you're stupid. They think that you're not going to want to know more answers. They think that you are going to be somebody who is just going to take the information given to you without checking the information. They think less of you. I personally think that most people that disagree with me don't know enough. Not that they're stupid, it's just that they're ignorant. And they have a bias or a fear that's clouding them from looking into more stuff. But I think they can learn more. And just because you're making decisions because you don't know more doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you're maybe uninformed. And this is what they're taking advantage of. But let's go.
Strategies, right? And so what they said is there's this whole reservoir. And the final kicker, my mandate at Turning Point was very simple. Charlie, turn Trump supporters into voters. And that's what we did.
Hey everyone, Rich Lowe just coming to you here with the Midas Touch Network with our Leaving MAGA video series. Got a new testimonial for you today of a lady who was in MAGA like myself, decided to leave. Again, if you're not subscribed to our...
So they have a whole series of people leaving MAGA. Wow. Let's go.
Channel here, make sure you get subscribed. The lady I met, her name is Patty Ann Giles, and the way that we got introduced and acquainted to each other, I put out on my socials like I always do, hey, we want to give a chance for those who are in MAGA and left to tell their story. So I want to bring Patty Ann in. She is in Virginia. Patty Ann, how you doing?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Oh, look at Patty Ann, somebody's grandma, somebody's Facebook grandma. Let's go.
To you, and in case anyone out there is wondering, we're doing a late night video here. Leaving MAGA and Midas Touch. I want to say we don't sleep. We do sleep, but we don't sleep an awful lot. So thank you for being able to join us at a really late hour here. So I want to ask you what it was about the MAGA community that you gravitated to. What was it about MAGA and Trump as a candidate that appealed to you?
Okay, well, I was a Republican for about 35 years.
So right there from the base, she was a Republican. And the thing about it is, what a lot of people, especially the younger people, don't realize that a lot of the political ingrainment early. Started early. And she said it. They latched onto her pre-existing biases and ideas that she had. Let's see how this changes.
Until Trump ran. And what I was starting to get disenchanted with the elitism in the Republican Party. I didn't like the way the war on terror was going. I didn't believe it was meeting its goals, its objectives. I was tired of all the corruption with the status quo in government. And I thought that Donald Trump was an outsider. He was anti-war. He had a populist message that really spoke to me. And I thought that I was ready for somebody like him, who had more in common, I think, with what I believed. And I thought that he would be a good businessman.
So what was getting me about her answer is that, and I said I wasn't going to dog the left. We on the left need to actually make sure we don't seem too foreign, too alien to people who are also voters. We sit back and we say, oh, well, they vote against their own interests. Have you taught them? Have you talked to them? Have you even reached out to find out what their interests are? They believe a billionaire from New Jersey. Yeah, he's from New Jersey. That's going to piss off the editor. Billionaire from New Jersey is more in touch with them than somebody who has the same struggle, the same financial struggle as they do. We're losing the messaging more because I don't want to talk to those people because they're bigots. They want to hate us. They want to unalive us. But you're facilitating your own destruction. Why aren't you trying to talk to them? It took somebody just barely reaching out to them to say, I have your interest in heart, but they don't. The same is with the young man. The same is with, the white folks. Like, some of these people are boats adrift on the political seas. Not saying they don't have their own agencies, but if a flotilla comes and says you part of the group, it's going to be easier than a flotilla that says, no, you part of the enemy. But let's continue.
I listened to his old interviews. I thought he sounded very patriotic. And his message, populist message, just really spoke to me at the time.
And another thing, too, being patriotic is a way to appeal to American voters. You don't have to say everything the U.S. did in its past is kosher and great and no. If you want America to change, you have to appeal to Americans. You have to. And populism isn't the populism of what have been in years past. Populism now is just say, I hate elites. Never mind the people who know, who studied. All these motherfucking people that, ironically enough, all these young people, these college people, are actively saying that we hate elites while they're going to school to be elites. We hate the system, but you're going into the system. Some of them is no more than a tantrum of, I think I'm cooler than my parents. And you see it with this. And then you sit back and say, you hate the elites, you hate you want populism. But you act just as snotty as all the other people that you say you hate. And when people are looking against looking against the elites, looking against the establishment, they're not following you because you also ostracize them. But let's continue. What's up, Miss Keeper?
time.
You know, as you're saying this, I have this very eerie, to use the old maxim, deja vu all over again. Because so much of what you said was why that was really my entree into MAGA. You know, I was disillusioned with the two parties. I thought they were the same. Yeah, Trump ran as an outsider, or as a Republican rather, but as an outsider, he didn't have any government, any political, any military experience. And I felt like the entire two-party system needed to be obliterated. And he seemed like a guy willing and able to do that. And for that reason, I thought that he was the right guy at the time for the job. And, you know, the reasons that you're bringing up, Patty Ann.
You know what's funny? With not wanting a two-party system, they're, MAGA and conservatives are looking to actually make even less of a choice of having a one-party system on one rule. That's what they want. Like, come on. And then the liberals or the leftists, they are literally like, oh, we don't want just a two-party system. But you don't take time to build up a second party or a third party. You vote Jill Stein and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna help the Green Party get up to the 5% threshold. But you don't do anything other than that besides vote for a president, which is like throwing your vote away. God damn, where are your candidates? Where are the Green Party candidates? I vote every election and I see like one or two Green Party local candidates. And they have no promotion behind them, no knocking on doors, no commercials, no online interviews. It just says, oh, Green Party. But let's continue.
I know for those who are very strongly anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, which I understand, I think one of the misconceptions amongst those who are very anti-MAGA is this sense that everyone supported Trump because of some of his statements about immigrants and about women. I knew that those were indefensible statements, but I also thought that the other side was infinitely worse. So I looked the other way. And
you know what? The problem with this, and I'm going to say it, Destiny hit that shit right, where people, it's not that they don't know Trump is bad. They just think the other side is just as worse or worse. That's the problem. They think that, yes, we know Trump is bad, but the Democratic establishments, they're weak, or they do like not good things, like it came up on the screen. And a lot of that is lies, of course. Charlie Kirk said at the beginning of this video, a lot of it is lies, but it's also, one, the DNC not putting out their message, not being braggadocious because they think it's uncouth or brash. And it's also leftists talking shit on the internet. Oh, Biden didn't do genocide, Joe, genocide Kamala, which, like, literally, that's not the extent, of what's happening with the worlds across the world. And even shit that's just like total lies. Oh, Donald Trump is gonna want peace. No, he's not. We know what he did. It was just 4 years ago. 5 years ago. This man dropped bombs on an allied country because reasons. But let's go.
Because I looked the other way, yes, that was part of why I eventually left MAGA, but I just looked at Trump coming in and thinking, this is the kind of person needed for the job at this moment. And I think that there are a lot of people who overlook the fact that there were some anodyne, non-controversial reasons and some valid, good reasons for supporting Trump, right? Jobs going overseas, communities hollowed out. Were there some specific issues that were brought up that he mentioned on the campaign?
And here's the thing. It goes to that populist things. And yeah, we seeing like some on the left are saying like, yeah, my problem isn't MAGA. His problem is conservatives. It's the establishment. And it's like, you do know that they were lying to you. You do know that we had an experience of him not actually doing the shit that he said he was going to do the first time. As a matter of fact, people know, oh, he was just lying that time. You know, like, y'all remember the shit that he did, right? Right. You think it's going to be different now? You think it's going to be different now? You think the 78-year-old or however old he is going to change his ways when he already has 1.5 foot in the grave? Because you remember he had a stroke while he was president. Oh, he just had a little aneurysm. He had a stroke. They call those strokes. Hey, let's go.
Campaign that you felt like really resonated with you and made you someone who said, okay, I'm going to support Trump. I'm all in right now.
Well, the economy was part of it. And I think more so on the issue of taxes. And that's why I'd supported the Republican Party for so many years.
And so here's another thing. So many people think that conservatives have a problem with paying taxes. Everybody has a problem with paying taxes. I'm going to say this. The thing about it is liberals or leftists, they don't have a problem with paying taxes if it means healthcare. You know, they look in and say like, well, if I pay taxes and I want to pay my private insurance, you know, certain things like that, pay taxes and, you know, people can actually eat food or have cheaper housing. But the conservatives also don't mind paying taxes if it means keeping themselves safe from the bad countries around the world. How much I hate to say it because it's overused. There are less differences than there are agreements. But the problem is messaging. It's messaging. If you communicate to people that you wouldn't have to worry about people actually, you know, being so criminal active, if more people actually had homes and they weren't living in desperation and fear of the next meal or a doctor's bill. That's why we need to actually do these big social programs. Do you know how many people, if you turned it into a national security issue, do you know how many people will fall for that? And generally, it is a national security issue when you have a country where most people are unstable, they don't have job security, don't have food security. That's a national security issue because you get people that, I don't know, learn how to write on little small pieces of brass casings. You get issues where people are, you know, willingly making jokes to, you know, insurance companies on the phone about deny, defend, or, you know, delay. Those are national security issues that need to be taken care of. An unstable society is an insecure society. But let's go.
Is because I believe the Democrats were tax and spend and creating an environment of government dependency. So Trump spoke to me in that respect, that I believed I was going to get a tax cut and that he was going to streamline government and trim a lot of waste and abuse. And that was very important to me.
And here's the thing too. When it comes to private corporations, the last thing they are efficient. People think that the ease of doing stuff with a corporation means that it's efficient. But they don't see the behind the scenes stuff that just, you know, nixes other people being able to just access the services. I've worked in customer service and for 20 years. Call center work for 15 years. Cool. They get a lot of call center customer service representatives. Hi, give you the answer quick, fast, and dirty. But they just giving you the answer. They're not resolving your issues like you want them to resolve it, because those rules have already been in place. And most of the real rules are screw whoever's calling in. This is the policy that you need to go by. I say one of the biggest stresses that I actually had is morally knowing what's right, knowing what the policy says, and having to deal with, it's not even the customers, it's having to deal with the customers based on the rules that we actually have. Business is not efficient. Business is not tailored towards you. They may think it. You may think it because you at least don't have to fight for the no. But I would rather have the protection of a government death panel than a private insurance death panel. You know, the ones that they had, the ones that they still have. You cost us too much money, so we ain't going to take care of this care. They do that. They used to have lifetime limits. But things need to be ran like a business. No, they don't. A business, and people know this. People know that a business will get rid of you if it costs $1 to keep you, and they make 10 cents on getting rid of you. They will go for that 10 cents in a second. But let's continue.
Do you feel like some of those beliefs within the Republican Party and what was championed, do you feel like some of those have been proven to be inaccurate since? Because I want to read something actually that you posted in November of 2019.
Okay.
And here's what it was, a tweet that you put out there. And your tweet was, the biggest threat to MAGA is not coming from the left. It's coming from fake Trump supporters who tell you what you want to hear, but don't tell you the whole story. There's a large movement of phony right-wing branders who are getting paid by the globalists to fool you. And again,
they call those Trump supporters actual Trump supporters. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. Elon Musk is not looking out for the average man. He got a few cases. There's a reason why he hates tort reform, because he screws over his employees. Peter Thiel, oh, thank God for PayPal. But there are other things that he uses to screw people over. So let's continue.
That sounds like me. You know, I look at that, I read that tweet, and I think that's something I did right. Maybe I didn't use not verbatim, but I made those exact kinds of comments about elitists and about globalists. In fact, I've always said that is in some cases, perhaps even more than Democrats, we in the MAGA community, we despised anti-Trump Republicans and conservatives. And you know, one guy, for example, I've gotten to know recently, actually over the last several months, is Adam Kinzinger. And I told Adam after I apologized to him, I said, we hated you in MAGA. And there are others, but we viewed, just like these, as you called them at the time, fake, phony right-wing branders, these were individuals we felt like were actually traitors to the cause. If you weren't with us, you were against us. And if you were 99...
If you wasn't with us, you was against us. If you weren't with us, you was against us. 20 points if you know who that's from. 9%
with us as a Republican or conservative, you were 0% with us. So that tweet, again, November 2019. So what happened? What were some moments that served as the catalyst for your eventual leaving? And what was that process like for you? Moments, occurrences, how long did it take you to leave? Get into the real specifics here, because I think that this particular part of the story, viewers really want to know, what was it that eventually led you to exit?
Okay, the pandemic was the tipping point for me.
Which I think a lot of people still forget how serious that was. I really think a lot of people forget how serious it was. We came out better than a lot of countries, but a lot of people did and still are dying from COVID-19. A lot of long-term health effects are happening from that. And I just, I can't press it. I think that probably my diagnosis was a long-term health effect. And for the most part, I worked from home, and then I got back in the office, and yeah, I got both RSV and COVID-19 within a span of a month. It's a serious thing. But let's continue.
I have a medical background,
Hmm.
and what I was seeing in a nutshell was dangerous disinformation, not only about the pandemic, but about other issues as well. All started to make sense to me. It all started coming together. I think I've been fooled. So that would have been probably like, I guess, early 2020. And I was seeing a lot of pandemic disinformation being promoted on the right. And that concerned me. And being in the medical field, I was seeing people and knowing of cases, people not getting vaccinated, not wearing masks, not social distancing. And we were losing a couple thousand people a day.
That's got to be so sad, like for real. I have family that have worked in the medical field. Thankfully, not while the pandemic was happening, but just like seeing people that they've cared for that's gone, like that was, yeah, it's kind of like it's tell it's a toll that happens to you. But let's go.
These treatments, these unproven treatments like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and all of this, well, people were taking those in lieu of proven treatments. And I was very, very concerned about my fellow Americans. So keeping with the disinformation thing.
And again, this is what I'm talking about. This whole America bad type stuff doesn't work to win you elections in America. I'm sorry. The left should be the most patriotic version of all the people that's here. We should say that no, we're better than what the CIA did in the 1970s and 80s. Our country's stronger now. We don't need to do that. Just the aura, the riz that we give as Americans, that we have the best culture, allows us not to have to do the underhanded, sneaky shit that we used to do. We shouldn't have communism. We should have super capitalism. We should make it that we're going to do it so well that money's not going to mean nothing to other people. Money's not going to mean anything to us because we are taking care of our people so well. Global police? We the global EMT. We are taking care of the world that there would need to be wars. Far is the Progressive Party from the FDR. Speak softly but carry a big stick. It's just disheartening to me. When we have the tools in this country to make this country better as a leftist, and we sit back and listen to some of the biggest political streams that say America bad. Whatever country that the West it was for, then whoever's the opposite is the good guys. We have a built-in base of people that want to be the most American Americans. And we shit on it because America bad. Fuck out of here.
One thing led to another. And as I started to do more research on the people who were promoting pandemic disinformation, and I'm talking about the political hacks mostly here, I started to realize that I believed things that weren't true in other areas as well.
Again, I'm going to reiterate this point, and forgive my repeating this, but the pandemic was part of the reason I left also. There were moments within my time in the MAGA community where I was with fellow MAGA Americans, and we did harshly criticize and censure the president privately. And the pandemic management was one of those moments. We knew just how much he was botching leading. You know, even giving some benefit of the doubt that there's no way anyone could have fully controlled what was happening. But to your point, going up and giving medical advice as someone who's not a doctor, shunning people who had medical expertise that had been who were in the medical and health fields for decades. You're reminding me of another testimonial.
So before he gets to this point, I do want to say this. This is what I'm talking about earlier. This whole populism thing is giving way to just idiocracy. Both the movie and the concept. There are people who spend their lives studying things, who devote their time studying things, studying, the germ theory of disease, studying nuclear physics, studying geology, studying history, studying social science. There are people who take their time, take their effort, take their lives' work to study this. And the problem with populism is it never differentiates the people who are elite because they take their time and the people that were just born with it. It's you're elite, you're elite, you're elite. No matter how you got to elite status, you're still the elite, so fuck you. It for everybody but sports people. Like for real. Everybody but sports people. They hate the elite. And even then they kind of get questionable about it, you know what I'm saying? Don't let you be in any other entertainment besides sports. Then it gets really crazy. Hollywood does, like, yes, Hollywood does produce but it's not the only, media apparatus that we have or town that we have. The media apparatus, like, some stuff is shot in New York, Atlanta, Chicago. It's like, but it's this elite. I'm going against the elite. Why? Because they're elite. It's just so freaking stupid. But let's go.
We had a lady named Stefania Messina, who also in the healthcare industry, and just like with she started to take a closer look and inspect what was happening with the pandemic. So for me, that was also a key moment. And the catalyst for me, I would say, that really accelerated was my leaving of MAGA was really Ron DeSantis, my governor, because I thought that he handled the pandemic pretty well in the first year and a half. And then all of a sudden he's got anti-vaxxers at his press conferences. And he's talking about Fauciism, and he eventually starts talking about biomedical security state. And I never believed COVID was a bioweapon, and I've never been anti-vaccine. So Ron DeSantis, when he did that, it confused me.
It's SARS. It's like literally SARS too. I know why the community actually got rid of the SARS naming convention, because it, South Asian respiratory violence, it kind of lives the infamy of the people where it's just SARS too. And so I'm like, SARS is like a very bad thing, but it broke the stigma of the location, which the international scientific community, if anything, they try to be as unbiased as they can. But it was something that we knew about. It was something that it didn't just magically come out of anywhere. It was a mutation of a actual virus that we knew was bad stuff. We knew it was bad stuff before it even hit the mark. It hit the streets. It's SARS too, literally. But people actually, because it was new and it sounded like there was a scare in China for SARS because of a freaking cult actually tried to release it on a train like a decade or so ago, or maybe longer. We know what it was. It wasn't new. It just didn't come out of nowhere. It's something that we had been looking and we had been testing to try to see if we can actually not prove, but predict. Same as H1. And that was an oldie but a goodie, because that was just the freaking Spanish flu. We know this stuff just comes out of it. It wasn't just out of nowhere. And of course, Trump dismantled the pandemic emergency response team because black man bad. But let's go.
And what I did, and I want to ask you about this point, as soon as my doubts commenced after Ron DeSantis, I diversified my news and information sources. So because I was fully right.
And if you have an issue with making sure that you're missing a news spot, I want you to introduce the ground. No, I don't have a ground news segment, but it's actually always good to try to get news sources from more than just one person. I know I do it because I have this job, so I have to look at some other stuff. But no, in your personal life, you should actually get news sources from multiple different places and not just one or one streamer. I'm looking at y'all who just sit back in a chat of a streamer just to say, "Oh, you're great." No, stop. Please stop. Please get your news sources from more than just one place.
Right-wing media. I was consuming it. I lived in the comments. I was also writing for it. I have bylines in places like Fox News and The Federalist and some others. Was that the case with you? Were you consuming just right-wing media? You were in the echo bubble. You were in the information silo. Talk about that a little bit, because I feel like you mentioned disinformation. I just think that fuels so much of the lies and the mis and disinformation.
Yeah, so that would be like Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Jack Posobiec, Ian Miles Chung, Charlie Kirk.
The sad part about it is Ian Miles Chung isn't even in the U.S. He ain't even in the U.S. All right, let's go.
A lot of material that came from Turning Point USA. A lot of the Fox News reporters. Sarah Carter, I believe was her name. Mike Cernovich.
Wow, that's a name that I've heard in a while.
Just any of the pro-Trump influencers I followed.
And I'm thinking about all those names because I also followed many of them. And something that I liberatingly but painfully realized when I made the decision to leave MAGA is that pretty much everything that I believed was a lie. And I'm not going to say that everything, those individuals you mentioned, that everything is a lie, but the vast, vast majority of what they say, they actually don't vet. There was just a United Nations study that just came out, and in that study, it inspected and looked at lots of influencers, and not just on the right, but on the left as well. And yes, while there were some on the left, the vast majority of the ones the UN studied were on the right wing and showed that they don't vet anything that they say. And something else that I came to realize is that when you look at these mythologies that exist within MAGA and the Republican Party, Donald Trump and the Republican politicians, they take their cues from those influencers, from the media. It's not the other way around. It's not that President-elect Trump calls up, for example, Charlie Kirk at Turning Point and says, okay, I want you to say this and this and this at your events. That's not what happens. It's that Trump is getting his talking points from the Charlie Kirks and the Alex Joneses and the Tucker Carlsons.
Didn't they say Trump used to actually just watch Fox News for like hours on end? Like somebody's old granddaughter and grandpa? I mean, like, I know he's somebody's old daughter and grandpa, but still, like, he used to spend like hours on end just watching Fox News in the morning.
These were, especially a guy like Tucker Carlson, he was massively influential when I was in the MAGA community. And we didn't even like Fox News that much. Even Fox News was regarded as MSNBC or CNN light. Yeah, we thought it was better than those networks, but we weren't that enamored with Fox, but Tucker Carlson, we were. So you're in the echo chamber. You're consuming all this media. How did you start to come out of that? What did you do that made you start to question some of your beliefs, and you started to think, okay, is that actually true? I have this workshop I'm developing called Where Did You Hear That? And I'm thinking about, if you were still in MAGA and I met you now, I would ask you, where did you hear that? So how did you get out of that? Because I feel like part of leaving MAGA is also leaving behind that right-wing echo chamber.
All right, let's see how can we reach these people. Let's go.
Yeah, well, with the pandemic being my impetus to search out better information, I just taught myself to fact check. And I made a conscious effort to leave that right-wing bubble, mind bubble, and to seek out other sources of information. Now, I'm not saying that if, that left sources are, always right, always correct, but I did try to diversify my content that I was using as information to inform and to fact check. So I just researched some tips on vetting media sources, how to tell if a source is biased. I use Ad Fontes as a guide for media bias. And I just was very careful then about what I allowed myself to believe. I approached media sources and content creators with much more skepticism during and after the pandemic.
Yeah, this is so common in our
So, and this isn't something that just is good for MAGA supporters. Also, us on the left, you should take a diet of learning about what right-wing people says. One, to reinforce your point to why it's wrong, or to get some nuggets of truth. Because remember, even a turd may have kernels of truth in it. And clean it up and use it for yourself. If your beliefs are right and you're strong in your beliefs, other than that's wrong. Well, let's continue.
testimonials we do here at Midas Touch Network for those who leave. And all of us, and it's not hyperbolic to say this, we were consuming essentially the same media. So we all thought alike. We all said the same. I remember in the community, if there was any information that even remotely refuted the pervasively held beliefs and mythologies, we would shun it. It was kept out because any media we did not read or watch was considered what I used to call the Democrat media industrial complex. That was a phrase that I actually used. And I believed it at the time. Just like your beliefs, they were sincerely held until we started to realize, you know what, this actually doesn't sound true because I just read in a different source.
And so that's another thing too. There are people that generally believe this. There are people who actually believe what's going on. It's not just some lie that they know they're lying, and so they're lying to me and they're just doing it to make me mad. There are people who actually believe this. But let's go.
That it's inaccurate. And this all seems so simple to just say, okay, I'm gonna mix up and diversify my news and information sources. But it had a profound and positive impact on my life, and I could tell that it did for you as well.
Mhm.
So what I want to ask you here in closing is, I left MAGA in August of 2022, and I didn't think anyone would care. That's the God's honest truth. And I spent the next year just telling my story until the idea for leaving MAGA, our organization, started to congeal. Why do you want to tell your story? What is it that you hope to get out of telling your story, and what is it that you want others to take away from your testimonial here?
Speaking to people who are still in MAGA. Yes. I would like to tell them that they're being deceived. And what they believe and what they support is to the benefit of the very people that they claim to be against, like elitists and the wealthy and white supremacists. I hate to say it, but it seems to be the case that the agenda is extreme, that you have the Christian nationalists trying to superimpose their extreme beliefs on people. racist, sexism. And that's not what I believed the Republican Party stood for. And I didn't believe conservatism stands for that either. So, yeah, I think my message is that they're being deceived, and they need to start really considering how their decisions affect others and not just themselves.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're taking an.
So we're gonna cut off there. It's pretty much, them just saying back and forth that, yeah, people are being lied to. And quite frankly, I know it's fun to MAGA regret. I participated in a shit. I'm gonna continue to participate in it too. And it's fun to actually see, like, especially the Dark Brandon YouTube channel. But in the end, the message is clear. We're all gonna have to suffer through this shit. And they're gonna be people who are gonna realize, hey, we're all fucked. And they're gonna need somebody to be able to grab their hands, like, come over to our side. And we're gonna have to accept them. They're gonna be people that's gonna be willing to not just come over to our side, but change some of their beliefs. Maybe not all, but some of their beliefs. And that's gonna be okay, because they're gonna want to build this country and make this country better. You gotta remember, these are Americans along with us. Sorry for my international viewers, but they're going to want to make their country better. The key is getting an understanding, making it better for everybody makes it better for them as well. But anyway, whatever you guys think, leave a comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and we're going to cut this video segment here. I want to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters and my Twitch subscribers. Join the Guardians, become a member, or become a subscriber on YouTube, Patreon, and help support the channel. Thank you for watching this video, and the next one should be popping up on your screen. Subscribe, and if you haven't checked it out and want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon. Thanks.